Why, hello there, I'm Professor Joel, and welcome to another episode of Planet Scooby Reviews. Today we are covering The Beast is Awake in Bottomless Lake, and this is the final episode of Season 3, and it originally aired on December 23rd, 1978. That's right, 2 days before Christmas. This isn't a Christmas-themed episode, but who cares? If you're a kid, you're on Christmas vacation, you get a new Scooby-Doo episode, life is pretty good. Here we see the gang up in Canada, where they discover the Beast terrorizing a small tourist or fishing town that features some of the best pike fishing in Canada. The town has a bottomless lake, which soon might hit rock bottom as the water is draining out of it pretty fast and the water levels are getting low. Bottomless Lake refers to what's called a meromictic, and with these lakes, the depth of the lake is greater than the lake's surface area, and this causes very little oxygen to reach the bottom of the lake, where nothing can live except a bit of bacteria. And as such, things take forever to decay if they ever sink to the bottom of the lake. And there's a lake near me, a bottomless lake, or meromictic near me, and I went scuba diving down there, and there's actually a horse. It's 300 years old, and it's down there. And it's kind of cool to see that horse. And how we know it's 300 years old is that from some journal entries from this village that used to be there, they mentioned a horse passed away on the ice, and they couldn't get it off the ice because when they tried to get it after it passed away, the ice was cracking, and eventually the horse just fell through the water. So yeah, you can actually scuba dive down there and see it. It looks a bit mummified and such, but you wouldn't assume it was 300 years old because by then anything else would be practically gone. Anyway, meromictics or bottomless lakes, they're only found in Canada, in the provinces of British Columbia, Quebec, and Ontario. And by only found, I mean in Canada itself. They're located across the world in a lot of places, including the States. So I'm assuming this episode takes place in British Columbia as they cross over to Canada and they reference the Yukon and the Klondike, which is directly above BC. So it kind of makes sense they are in British Columbia. But one thing that threw me off is that a couple characters in this episode, the Mountie and Mr. LeBeau, have French-Canadian accents. And French-Canadians, they tend to live in Quebec. Of course, people migrate over. It's just confusing, or not confusing, but interesting that two characters who would be living in BC would have French-Canadian accents. And Quebec, so if BC is located kind of above Seattle, Quebec is kind of located above and to the east of New York, so you can tell there's a huge difference there. It'd be kind of like if they had an episode in Seattle and you had someone from the Bronx with the Bronx accent in Seattle happening, it would kind of probably throw you off too, right? That's all I'm saying. Anyway, to me, the Beast is one of my favorite character designs. I even bought like the Beast toy back in 2002. This is a pretty cool toy. I like this. It even comes with the sign for Bottomless Lake with the best pike fishing. Really cool toy. Never opened it up. Comes with a little flip book, but it isn't for this episode. It's for the Grand Prix race. I don't often hear this episode talked about much though, and I was just wondering, is this a forgettable episode or is it a hidden gem? Anyway, let's find out. The episode begins with a creepy shot of the Bottomless Lake Beast monster in the lake. We then cut to the gang in the Mystery Machine who are headed off for a Northwoods trip.
There sure are some great fishing spots up here.
This Northwoods trip sure is a great idea.
Freddy is super excited for some fishing and Scooby is super excited to eat some fish. While driving, they come across a flooded road, so they take a detour using a side road. Velma finds this strange as it's fall and rivers typically flood in the spring during the winter melt. The detour takes the gang to the US-Canadian border and a sign points to Bottomless Lake, which features the best pike fishing in Canada.
Welcome to Canada? Bottomless Lake, 2 miles.
Best pike fishing in Canada.
Bottomless Lake sounds like a great place to camp.
Enticed by the sign, they head into Canada after a nice Mountie tells them to go ahead. The Mountie also tells them they'll have the place to themselves and to go straight ahead as they can't miss it.
Bottomless Lake, eh? You'll have the whole place to yourselves. Straight ahead. You can't miss it.
Can't miss it, huh?
The gang do miss it and they have to stop for directions. Shaggy and Scooby walk up to an old cabin where Freddy tells them they'll probably get some stew by a friendly cabin owner, but they are instead confronted by the Beast. So the rest of the gang check out the area but find nothing. They do find an old sign and they see that the village is only 1 mile away.
Bottomless Lake Village, 1 mile.
So they head into Bottomless Lake town. In town, every store is empty and Daphne discovers a newspaper that is 3 weeks old.
Klondike gold heist. Millions of dollars worth of gold ingots taken. That paper's 3 weeks old.
In the newspaper, they read about a Yukon gold heist, where a lot of gold was stolen. A French-Canadian named Guy Lebeau, who owns the gas station / bait shop, approaches them and warns them of the beast. He explains there was an ancient legend of a glowing-eyed beast that casts weird lights in the lake. 3 weeks ago, this beast made an appearance, and the water levels in the lake began to sink.
You have worse things to fear than Guy Lebeau. I have seen many strange things in these North Woods, but the most terrifying is the beast of Bottomless Lake. There is an ancient legend of a glowing-eyed evil spirit of the lake. I myself have seen a hideous beast in the lake.
Mr. Teller then shows up, and Mr. Teller is a tourist of some sort, and he buys some bait, exclaiming he hasn't left town yet as he wants to catch a giant pike. Guy Lebeau sends Mr. Teller off with the rest of his bait as Mr. Lebeau plans on leaving town now.
Mr. Taylor, I thought you'd left town with the others. Can you sell me some bait? Take it all. I won't be needing it. I am leaving town right now.
But where can we stock up on provisions?
Johnson's Market is just up the street. But if you are smart, you will leave town like the rest of us.
He also tells the gang to do the same, but before he leaves, he points out where the local market is so they can pick up some supplies. At the Johnson's family market, the gang stock up on supplies, and here they find a cat. They also find Julie Johnson, who says her family has left. Julie explains she's come back to pick up her cat, but when she goes to get the cat rushes off in fear.
Oh, I didn't know anyone was here. I'm Julie Johnson. My parents own this market, but I came back to get my cat. The lake is dangerous. No one goes there anymore.
The gang then head off to the lake where they see the water levels are way down.
Hey, look! The lake has been shrinking.
Pitching a tent for the night, the gang go to sleep. The gang are soon woken up by the sound of thunder, but there isn't a cloud in the sky, nor is there any lightning. The gang head to the lake to see the lights of the beast in the lake. Scooby and Shaggy keep an eye on the camp, while Freddy and the girls go and investigate the lights. Of course, it doesn't take long for the beast to confront Scooby and Shaggy, and a small chase occurs. They lock the beast in a cabin, and when they call Freddy and the girls back, they find the cabin empty. Inside the cabin, they find wet carpet, and when Velma lifts up the carpet, they find a secret underground tunnel. Freddy also finds some green clay, which Velma has her suspicions about. Scooby and Shaggy stay in the cabin while Freddy, Daphne, and Velma go investigate the tunnel. As soon as Freddy and the girls are out of earshot and sight, the beast shows up once more and terrorizes Scooby and Shaggy. Our pair hide in the Mystery Machine, and Shaggy nearly drives a vehicle into the lake where they get stuck. Finding an inflatable life raft, they manage to escape. Freddy and the girls make their way out of the tunnel where they come across Scooby and Shaggy on the life raft. They also discover the life raft is a pontoon, and it has part of a sign on it with the letters KL.
It's an inflatable pontoon.
It's a wooden plank with the letters KL on it.
You realize you're splashing and scared off my Pike?
Scooby and Shaggy head into town to find some scuba gear, and the beast follows them there. Back on the lake, Freddy and the girls discover some footprints that weren't there earlier, and they follow them. The footprints take them into town.
The beast's footprints. But they weren't here before.
And they lead toward town.
Inside Mr. LeBeau's shop, Scooby and Shaggy load up on some scuba gear and are once more confronted by the beast. Freddy and the girls make it into town, and the beast heads into the bushes, but Mr. LeBeau emerges.
He went that way. What's going on?
And he tells the gang to feel free and borrow his scuba gear.
Oh, Mr. LeBeau, we thought you'd left town.
I did, but my car broke down about a mile from here. I came back for some parts.
At the dock, Freddy and the girls suit up in their scuba gear, but Scooby and Shaggy decide to stay behind. The beast shows up once more, and they suit up and dive into the lake. In the water, Scooby and Shaggy find a tank on the bottom of the lake where they find Freddy, Daphne, and Velma inside observing some wooden crates. For the last time, the beast shows up and takes chase. Lots of hijinks occur, and the beast is finally caught in some netting held up by some henchmen.
It's just about time
for the boss's latest shipment.
Removing the costume, the gang discover the beast is Julie. Julie was behind the stolen Yukon gold heist they read about earlier in the outdated newspaper.
It's Julie! The stolen gold! How did you know that?
Velma knew she was behind it all as the cat she claimed was hers was terrified by her. The KL sign they found earlier was from a sign that read out Klondike. The gold was taken to the cabin and then down the secret passage. Julie would then dive down in the lake and go into a secret tank where the crates were stored. And then they sent off the gold in a pipe into a stream on pontoons where her henchmen would catch the gold from the Yukon. Since the lake was divided by the US-Canadian border, they could get the gold across without any custom checks. The green clay they heard earlier was used for the explosions they heard where they were digging out their secret tunnel. With another mystery solved, this marks the last episode we'll see before we are introduced to Scrappy-Doo. I give this episode a 7.5 out of 10. What I like about this episode is the beast design. Like I said, I went out and bought the toy 19 years ago. Still remember where I bought this and when and all that. I remember the day. Can't believe it's 19 years, but it's been 19 years. And I love the legend of the Bottomless Lake and how they're in Canada, but this episode just doesn't have much substance. Really, all we get is about 5 chase scenes between Scooby, Shaggy, and the Beast, and they're just kind of, they're not that exciting. And then we get some scenes of Freddy and the girls walking around, discovering clues, so it's a little stale there. They try and throw some red herrings in with Mr. LeBeau and the cranky Mr. Taylor, who yells at them at some point for splashing around too much and scaring away the Pike. But these red herrings aren't set up very well. They're not like as cool as the red herrings in the creepy creature of Vulture's Claw, where Freddy has his suspicions and you can tell. Nothing like that here. They just kind of make appearances and walk off again. So, And it's nice to see the monster, but the monster never really poses a threat. I did enjoy the Scooby and Shaggy kind of driving off in the mystery machine and Shaggy almost driving to the lake and getting stuck. That was kind of exciting. So not all the chase sequences were boring, but that one was good. I did like that. And the plot is a little too complicated. Like, they have all the clues throughout, but you could never really figure it out. And I just think they went a little too complicated with the plot and the strategy and all that. And in a remote town like this, in Canada especially, families aren't going to leave their stores behind. In Canada, we have a big hunting industry. Like, we talk about gun control in the States and guns in Canada and all that, but a lot of people in these northern parts of Ontario rely on hunting for living, so nothing's going to scare them away from the land. If a grizzly bear isn't going to scare them away, I don't think a bottomless lake fish creature is going to scare them away. They're going to get out their guns and they're going to hunt this monster down probably. Overall though, an okay episode. I did find it generic and a little bit formulaic, but we do get a cool female villain though, and that is cool. I like that it was Julie. I don't think Julie could lift up the mystery machine unless she had some hydraulic machinery in her creature suit, but otherwise, yeah, I couldn't even lift up the mystery machine. You'd have to be pretty strong to lift up the mystery machine like she did at one point. But whatever, nitpicking, cartoon logic, we all love it. Anyway, I want to thank you all again for your likes, views, subscribes. I want to remind you too, I'm taking a bit of a break, about a 4-month break. I'll be back in September. During that time, I'll be working on the new Scooby-Doo comedy movie mystery things that are like an hour long. So I'll be working away on those. And then in September, I'll be releasing consistent videos. Probably take again my December break. And then hopefully by this time next year, I'll be done all the Scooby-Doo movies. And that will be exciting for me to do. I'm looking forward to watching those as I haven't seen a lot of those episodes in a few years. Next week, though, I have 1 episode left and I'm just doing my review or my ranking of all the season 3 episodes. So I hope to see you then. That will be open up for comments because I won't be showing cartoon clips. YouTube won't set it as being for kids. So I'll be able to have you comment on it. So I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on these episodes. Anyway, until then, stay spooky.
Bottomless Lake sounds like a great place to camp.
It's Julie!